The first small change came when I realized that I was the common denominator in everything that was going wrong in my life. When I realized that my business was failing. My business was teaching me some valuable lessons. My business was showing me where I wasn't actually in integrity or alignment with my business. And I started to realize that if I was the common denominator in everything good and everything bad in my life, then what is it that I need to see and understand inside of myself to really actually see what was going on? It's like I had an inability to see truly what I was responsible for and how I was the one creating this reality. And when I started to actually take ownership and full self-responsibility and be like, okay, well, if I'm the common denominator, what do I need to do to change what's happening in my external world? And that's when I started to do breath work. When I took a year off, I studied NLP and hypnotherapy, but in studying those things, they also became my therapy. I traveled the world for 12 months, 3 weeks at a time. I would go to Costa Rica, South America. I took a bunch of plant medicine, although I don't recommend everyone does that. It's why I studied certified psychedelic therapy, because I can't just sit in the unknown. I love to understand what's happening, and actually there's so much research on what's happening on a neurological level in psychedelic therapy, but it's a whole other conversation, a whole other YouTube channel. So yeah, I really started to invest the time in me and spend the time to heal and learn to love and learn to laugh and learn to be present. But not everyone has the fortune of a high six-figure payout from a multi-million-dollar company that they've founded in order to give them 12 months to recover from burnout. And it's one of the reasons I'm on a mission to help thousands of women become millionaires through their business, because the more money that we actually have, the more we can invest in our health. So many women I see stuck at six or multi-six figures that are in this cycle of when I have time, I will. And the more revenue we can create inside of a business, the more we can actually invest time to take every Friday off and reinvest that time back into our health and well-being. Yeah, I discovered that over this time, over this 12 months of, I did Australian Institute of Company Directors training, I did high-level management training, and that coupled with the holistic and more psychology-based modalities and psychotherapy-based modalities, that although I had discovered that I could make money really fast if I worked really hard, that I was programmed to believe that I had to work really hard. And I started to, follow influencers and be in this world of personal brand and online coaching, and really started to see what was possible in business, and that we didn't have to follow this same blueprint of hustle harder, make more money. And that was the blueprint I'd followed throughout my whole entire career. And I was raised by my grandparents, and my granddad used to say to me, things about hard work, all in a day of hard work. There was this real old school mentality that you had to work hard just to get by, not even make millions of dollars. We were a working class family. So even though it was hard work, a hard day's labor, they only just made enough to keep food on the table. So yeah, there was this real lack mentality. There was this real, old school, very masculine belief that I had to work 12-hour days, 6 days a week just to have success. And I spent 18 months really unwiring, deconditioning, unprogramming that belief and learning different ways to build and to really let go of that identity. Success now is, how do I feel in my business? Where am I being present? What is my relationship with my partner like? What is my relationship with my son like? And I really define my success based on my whole life. I could be making millions of dollars, but if I don't have a connected relationship, I'm actually not interested. So success now is defined by, yes, the money that I make and, 7-figure businesses, working 30 hours a week. However, I won't sacrifice myself. And one of the reasons that I started the companies that I have, my agency and my coaching, is because I see so many women accepting half lives and accepting half love and in this constant cycle of sacrifice, and I don't believe it's necessary. I know it's not necessary. I'm living proof. All of the women in my world are living proof. The networks that I have now, the women that I coach, the life that I live, and the life that I witness others that have had this belief shift live, is that success doesn't need to cost you your life. Success doesn't need to cost you your happiness. Success isn't about sacrifice. It's actually about building a life and business on your terms. So my life and my business and the way that I show up in my business started to look a whole lot different. The boundaries and rituals that I have now really encompass the woman that I am and what I'm not willing to sacrifice anymore. So I ensure that I go to the gym or go for a walk on the coast. I eat really clean. I spend 3 nights a week minimum in ritual with my partner in an intimacy connection where we go deep into the undercurrent of our relationship. We're really in the essence of what we're feeling underneath the surface. And sometimes that's joy and happiness and gratitude, and sometimes that's, wow, I feel really heavy this week because I'm holding a lot. And having this devotion to a life that makes me feel alive and joyful and present and like I can breathe, it's a non-negotiable in my world. And even in seasons of working, I generally only work 20 to 30 hours a week, but if I'm in a week or a season where I've got a lot on, often when I'm traveling, if I'm doing events or going to networking or, those sorts of things, I work a longer week or more hours, but it doesn't feel like it because I'm not sacrificing anything for it. And I always keep myself in check. I'm always asking myself, where is this coming from? Do I feel like I need to do more because I'm in lack? Or is this genuinely something I'm passionate about, excited to get out into the world? Am I investing my time and energy because it feels good or because I feel like I must? And this, in my opinion, is where hustle culture comes from. Hustle culture is actually the need to feel and look busy because we're not used to resting or relaxing. 9 times out of 10, especially in summer, you'll find me outside on my lunch break, sunbathing, listening to music, or just listening to the world around me. And I have lots of white space on my calendar and I don't have the need to fill it with something. And this is one of the things that we have to decondition when learning to build businesses in a new way. One of the reasons that I created my agency is because women need to build differently to men. We need to be well nourished and well resourced. And if you are making over $10,000 a month in your business, you should have a virtual assistant because we're not designed to do it all. We're not designed to do it alone. And we shouldn't be doing $25 tasks as an entrepreneur that's worth $500 an hour minimum. So yeah, really learning to find support, learning to build ecosystems of thriving is why the outsourced ecosystem, which is my agency, the OE agency, was born. My second business, because I realized that to support the women that I was coaching and mentoring and guiding, I needed to help them find support that wasn't going to cost them all of their wealth. And to scale and grow, you cannot do it alone. You don't need a big team, but you do have to have someone in your corner. In building over these past 5 years, almost 6 years now, it really came to me that, in that first 12 months after I took 12 months off from business building and really had the time and the space to regroup and really understand who I was and what I wanted to give back to the world, I started to realize that my journey wasn't so special. And the more women I coach and the more women I speak to, I realize there is this sense of sacrifice in business and in life. And a lot of women come into my world that have this fear of going through exactly what I went through, whether it's losing the business, losing their health, or losing the relationship. And I kind of became this beacon of A, what's possible, and B, because I've been there, I know how to avoid it. And it's really been such a gift to realize that I walked the exact path I needed to in order to support women that might be feeling the same, to reclaim their lives again, to reclaim their self-love and the love in their relationships, and to stop sacrificing, to actually start living life and not waiting for the next achievement, not waiting for the next goal in their business, not waiting for something outside of themselves to start to be happy and satisfied and fulfilled right now, then it has been the biggest honor and the ultimate calling. It's like, I woke up one day and I looked back at, sometimes it was hard, there was pain, there was suffering at times, and I just started laughing because I was like, oh wow, fair play, God, you really did give me all of the lessons and the tools and the awareness that I needed in order to guide women to build business and life on their terms, to really reclaim what it means to be a woman in business. And I'm on a mission to help 1,000 women build 7 figures in their business, because firstly, less than 2% hit 7 figures, and I think that is insanity. And I also think women think it is much harder than it needs to be, especially if they're in this hustle and burnout cycle and self-sacrifice. And when we start to strip away some of these beliefs and actually put in place boundaries, firstly with themselves, they start to get this sense of how easy it actually is and what becomes possible when you choose yourself first. My life now feels full. It feels wholesome. It feels just so nourishing and nurturing. I have the most incredible partner and we have the most amazing relationship, and it doesn't mean it's void of tension. I actually think relationships need tension for both parties to grow if they're both willing and capable. I have the most amazing relationship with my son. My business is thriving. Like I said, I only work 20 to 30 hours a week. I travel the world speaking. I travel the world learning. I have the most amazing women in my world that I help grow. And oftentimes they become friends because they're a past version of me, and I can just see their hearts and their desire to stop living in fear of failure, to stop giving up happiness for success, and to actually reclaim this joy and freedom and passion that they started their businesses for. And it's like I pinch myself every day that this is what I get to do for work. And I just get to help women live bigger lives in a much more pleasure and joy filled way. If I could leave you with one thing from what you've heard on my journey, it's that sacrifice isn't success. It's that we don't have to have half lives or live half loves, or have the business but not the relationship, or the relationship and not the business, and that anything's possible. You just need to believe that it is first, and you have to want it bad enough. And if you're one of those women that are exhausted, that looks successful on the outside but secretly on the inside you feel like you're one move away from collapse. You're waking up at 3 a.m, you're feeling like you're carrying the weight of your team, you're feeling like if something doesn't change, you don't know how you can keep going, but somehow you do, like everything's resting on you. Or you're the woman who has everything all figured out but is playing safe. There's this boredom and this resignation that's settled into your life and your business because you know you're playing a smaller game than you came here to do. You are the one that's playing it safe. You don't want to get burnt out, but there's this niggling feeling that you were meant for more and that there is limitless possibilities for you, but you're just in this cycle of fear and making the safe choice. Both of those variables aren't actually us living up to our full potential. It's why my program is called Limitless. It's why I have the Limitless Society, because we don't need to sacrifice and we don't need to play safe and keep ourselves small because we're afraid of what might happen. But also, if you're in the midst of chaos or on the verge of burnout, you don't need to stay here, and you don't need to burn everything down or lose what you've built. You just need someone to guide you to restructure in a way that is good for your heart and your soul. It's why I do what I do every single day.